had a client back in the day, um, and I remember one morning I served him pineapples,
Hmm.
fresh pineapple, and he said, "What's that?"
Hi, I'm Terrell Turner, the host of the Business Talk Library, and today I am a guest on, and this one caught my attention because I am a huge believer that we have to take care of ourselves in a healthier way. And, when I saw this Eating Well with Chef Cordell, I mean, it really caught my attention. So welcome to the show, Chef Cordell.
Man, I appreciate that. Real very happy to be here with you, brother. Very happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. So tell us a little bit about, your background and your business, like how you got into this business.
Sure. Well, I've always been a big fan of food, even though I don't look like it at all. We'll put a pin in that for like a second, but people have always said never trust a skinny chef. Well, I don't think I'm skinny, but I'm not overweight by any metrics at all. But it's all about what you put into your body. But I got into cooking probably when I was 13. My mother allowed my sister and I to participate in Thanksgiving dinner. I was asked to make the cornbread dressing, and when I tell you it was the worst thing I've ever made in my life, that stands true to this day. It was absolutely horrible, but it got me into wanting to kind of learn more about how to put things together to create something. So a couple years later, I started a quasi company called Cordells Cooking. So I sold chocolate chip, peanut butter, oatmeal raisin, brownies to family members, church members, people I went to school with, like what have you. So that got me into the mode of entrepreneurship. A few years later, or in between that time, my neighborhood in Chicago, where I'm from on the south side, we lost our only grocery store that was within a mile from our house. So
Wow.
when you don't have a grocery store within a mile or so from where you live, that neighborhood is generally designated as a food desert. So where you don't have any fresh, affordable, nutritious things or fruits, vegetables to be able to get within a mile from your place. So I noticed that, but didn't immediately notice the changes that were happening. But years later, I looked at my family and looked at other people I knew in church, and beyond that, everybody was suffering from the same things:
Mhm.
hypertension, obesity, and diabetes type 2. So years after that, I combined my wanting to cook and my affinity for how we can use food to use it as medicine. How can we create a business out of that to then be able to help our people? So, and I didn't really have to go further than my family. Um, uh, we've always been told that type 2 and high blood pressure and obesity runs in the family. I think that's completely false. I think that people may have a higher propensity to get it based upon diet choices that they've made throughout those years. But just like you can eat your way into obesity, hypertension, and diabetes type 2, you can eat your way out of it as well. So I started my business after working in a few restaurants in Chicago. I started my business in 2008, have been in it mostly full time since. We started off doing catering in the beginning, doing personal chef work for some of the athletes in Chicago to keep them on par for their sports. And we started doing cooking classes at Whole Foods and what have you, and kind of branched out into what it is now. So at this point, what we do is we focus on providing healthy culinary education to adults and children. On the adult end, we work with companies that hire us to come in and teach their employees how to go about putting together pragmatic techniques and recipes to be able to produce healthier meals for themselves and their families. On the employee end, of course, that makes them um, healthier. On the employer end, they generally get a more productive employee, people that don't take off work that much, and it also helps to lower their insurance premium. On the other end, and working with kids, we work with the school systems to be able to offer menu and recipe development, which would then produce healthier meals for the students. So, that's what we do in a nutshell. Yeah.
Okay. And I think that there's a lot of value there. I mean, and I want to go back to something you pointed out or you brought up about, just that process of of improving, the quality of your health by being more mindful of the things that you put into your body. I mean, how was that journey for you kind of, coming to that aha moment and then starting to change that for yourself?
That's a good question. I don't want to be fat. I mean, I hate to put it. I hate to put it that way, and not that that necessarily is a bad thing,
Mhm.
but you know, once you see enough family members pass away or get sick, or people who's had their limbs cut off, due to diet stuff,
Mhm.
and it's like, well, how much control do I have over this? Now, for instance, if you're living in a food desert, those are areas also that people don't always have access to transportation. So whether it's their own or public transportation. So when you don't have those things, and you factor all of that in, you're relegated to what's in your neighborhood, which is generally the not so good stuff. So I can understand to a degree, you know, why we are or how we got to where we are. But in the end, it's a choice, just like everything else is. It's a choice. How I look at it, uh, either you're going to pay for it now, maybe pay a few extra bucks here, or you're going to pay later in damaged health. You know what I mean? So I
Mhm.
would much rather at this point, and not that everything has to be organic. So let's back it up a bit. When people think health, they think, oh my God, I'm going to blow this budget. Not necessarily. They've made it easy for us though to think that because they have a dollar menu at every restaurant that there is,
Mhm.
and these restaurants are in the in our neighborhood. So if I'm a single parent, I got 2 or 3 kids at home, and I just got off work. I'm working longer hours for less pay, and now I have to go home after working longer hours to feed my kids. But on my route home, I'm going to pass 4 or 5 fast food restaurants that all have dollar menus. So I can either take ten bucks and feed the people that are at my home, or I can take 2 hours or an hour or 30 minutes and actually go to the grocery store and come home and cook. But after working all these hours, I'm probably tired. So I'm going to, more than likely, I'm going to choose route A versus route B, which takes a little more time, but in the end, you will get much better results. So,
Mhm. And I think that is a definitely a trade-off that people really wrestle with, and something that I was talking to my wife about was, you know, I think a lot of times people do have a misconception about what it's going to cost to actually eat healthier, because that was something that her and I started, a couple of years ago and we just started, simply by just saying, hey, I just need to increase. We're going to start with increasing the number of vegetables that we have on our plate.
yep.
Let's start there.
Mhm.
And what we realized is like, man, it's not as expensive as we thought it was going to be to start eating healthier.
Hmm. You're right. You're right. I mean, there are so many factors that go into it, and we don't have the time to go through every single factor. A lot of it is what we're accustomed to. So, for instance, I can tell you, Terrell, you need to eat healthier. Now, depending upon what type of person you are, you may take it, oh my God, I'm not eating healthy. I'm a bad person. What am I going to do? So you see health in the news and it seems so gigantic, like you have to do this, you have to do that. No, you need to just start.
Hmm.
One thing that helped me out, for instance, so my breakfast generally on a daily basis is I start off with 3 or 4 pieces of fruit. This is after I have my water to clean my system out. I have my coffee. I generally start off with about 3 or 4 pieces of fruit, at least. So whether it's a couple apples, a couple of kiwi, and what have you, and then I slowly work my way into food. So after that point, I'll have a few eggs, some brown rice, and asparagus or broccoli for breakfast. And it sounds odd, but once I consciously say, okay, I cannot continue to eat in a way that's not going to benefit my body any and expect anything different. So I have to do something. So I started by eating more fruit in the morning. And I
Hmm.
said, oh wow, I guess I don't just have to eat asparagus for dinner. I guess I can't eat it for breakfast, huh? I
Hmm.
mean, are the police going to come out of the side of my kitchen and say no? You can't. I mean, so it's just mentally making that shift. That's
Hmm.
we're making light of it, but you just have to kind of turn that corner like a bit. It's and what it comes down to for me: do I want to live or do I want to die? And I hate to say it so bluntly, but these choices will make a difference. So, for instance, I stopped eating meat with breakfast. Now, I like turkey sausage and other things like that, but something I saw a few years back, there was this video. I can't think of the gentleman who put it out, but he said, you're waking up in the morning and you're ascending, you're going up. Now, you're putting something in your body that's already died, that's
Hmm.
going down. So, whether it's bacon, turkey meat, or what have you. So you're going up, this is going down. So now you're going to hit a crash at some point, and you're you're not going to be where you would like to be. So I stopped eating meat for breakfast, period.
Hmm.
And I start to feel better now. Like I constantly feel like I'm still going up versus having that meat 8 o'clock in the morning, and now I'm stuck for the next hour trying to wake myself back up again. If that makes sense.
Okay, no, that makes a lot of sense. Now, something you talked about, and I know I had a conversation before this interview that I wanted to hit on a little bit more
Sure.
about the programs that you do for children and schools, because I mean that's a very big thing of school systems are trying to find ways to give their children a healthier diet. Like, what has that experience been like for you working with school systems?
It's been great, and it's also been eye opening. So I took a break from my business a couple years ago because I moved from one state to the next state and knew that I needed time to kind of figure out what the market was. So I took on a job as a regional child nutrition director for a school system. I was based in Roanoke Rapids. I don't know if you know where that is. Roanoke
Hmm.
Rapids, North Carolina, Eastern. So a very rural like area. Going out there was very eye opening for me. I didn't really recognize um, how much children depended on the school system to be able to eat.
Hmm.
So when we think about the pandemic situations that's going on now, I feel really bad for the children that don't have a gracious socio-economic background because they depend upon these school meals to be able to eat. But to more specifically answer your question, though, in working with the school systems, it was different because a lot of them were accustomed to eating out of the cans or eating out of the boxes. Just kind of take this. We have a meal, and the focus when I was running my portion of it wasn't necessarily before I came in. It wasn't on the quality. It was on can we get this meal as cheap as possible?
Gotcha.
And it was just about the numbers. And at least the kids are getting fed because they're not getting fed at home. So at least they're getting fed. When I was brought in, my task, amongst many things, was to be able to create menus that were fresher, that were focused on, meals and what ingredients that would be able to keep them stimulated in the classroom. So, for instance, you have certain fruits, vegetables that are good for memory, that are good for focus, and different things like that. So, part of my task was to get the menus out of the doldrums of boxes and cans. Can we turn this into fresh stuff? And it was a challenge initially because when you're accustomed to eating Kraft macaroni and cheese,
Hmm.
like you know what I mean, it's different now when we're actually using real cheese,
Yeah.
or if people go like, what is this? For instance, I had a client back in the day, um, and I remember one morning I served him pineapples,
Hmm.
fresh pineapple, and he said, "What's that?" I'm thinking, dude, you're like 25 years old, but okay, that's what I was thinking of myself. But I had to check myself because like I've never seen this like this.
Hmm.
He was used to fruit out of a can. Now I had the pineapple still in the shell, so I cut it
Okay.
out, cut it up, and put it back in the shell.
Hmm.
But he was used to pineapple coming out of a can, and it
Gotcha.
really opened my eyes to coming from different areas of town where you may live in those food deserts, or you may not be exposed to these things. Once you are exposed to them, you're kind of like, what in the world is this? So, it was different, but I think we did meet some success in working with the school system because we were able to turn the children on to something different after beating the resistance that them and their parents initially gave us. Once they actually tried the foods more often, I think that they liked them more, and I still see remnants of that to this day in working with those school systems. So.
Okay. And then I guess when you started moving into working with, let's say, corporations, because I know that was a huge value. When I worked at General Electric, that was a big thing that they did at GE, where you could go down to the health center and actually they would host cooking sessions for the employees, and it helped out with the company's insurance because you're promoting more healthier habits within,
Mhm.
so the company got a benefit as well as the employees got a chance to try some new dishes, and they got a chance to learn about some new healthier dishes. How was that experience for you?
Oh, that's been great. That's the crux of my business at this point. So I started off doing individual or public cooking classes for the public. So I was teaching at Whole Foods back in Chicago as an independent contractor, and then started doing them on my own at various locations. I enjoy teaching as a whole. So I actually have a class in about 2 hours here as well. But I enjoy teaching very much. I love working with individuals, but I decided to work with the companies because I felt like we could have a larger impact on people. So most people go to work. So they're going to be there 8, 9, 10 hours a day. Why not catch them in an environment that they're already in? They're already paid to be there, so they're not going to go anywhere. That could be a benefit to the employer and to the employee, and the employee doesn't have to pay anything for it. And we have a live captive audience all in one place. So I dabbled and dabbled in corporate wellness about 5 or 6 years back, but once I saw the effect that we can have a much bigger effect in the same amount of time. I can spend and be hired out to do, a class for 1 hour for 10 people as
Hmm.
a group, sure. But if I can get an entire office of 50 people,
Hmm.
where they're a captive audience, they don't have to invest anything to it other than the willingness to learn how to do something different, and the employer will benefit. We saw that as a win-win.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I've definitely enjoyed doing the corporate wellness. We work with right now some insurance brokers, municipalities, some Fortune 100, 500 companies. So we've been very, very fortunate. And during this COVID time, the most important thing is to be as nimble for us as possible. So we started doing more virtual corporate wellness too. So
Okay.
yeah.
So I came across it because I saw in a video you did about, I guess, properly picking a pineapple.
Yes.
Now, how often are you doing videos on social media?
I am looking to do them about 3 to 4 times a week. Since I just started doing, as we did mention a few moments ago, I reopened the forum to doing public classes. So knowing that people are at home now during this COVID time, we've been doing individual and small group classes for the public now. So we're doing those about three to 4 times a week. We like to keep the balance between doing a meal and then maybe offering tips. So every other day, bouncing off of those two, but just looking to give out as much helpful information as possible.
Okay. And then where can people find you? Like if they're going on social media, what do they search for to find your videos?
Okay, sure. So you can go directly to the website, which is www.chefcordell.com. That's ChefCordell.com. You can find us on Instagram at Chef Cordell, Facebook, Eating Well with Chef Cordell Consulting, LinkedIn, Cordell McGary, Eating Well with Chef Cordell Consulting. That's where the information is. You can also go to our YouTube channel as well, which we just started a couple weeks ago. That's Eating Well with Chef Cordell as well. So if
Okay.
you yeah, if you Google Eating Well with Chef Cordell, you're gonna find me. So yeah,
Okay, awesome, awesome. And then one question I like to ask all the business
sure.
owners that I have on the show is, since you've been in this journey of going from an idea to building a business around it, what is at least one thing that you've kind of learned in that process of building a business?
Oof. Um, I can only give you one. Man, there's so many. It's so many. One that sticks out to me, something that my father told me that I guess relates to life and the business. It's not about how many times you get knocked down, it's how quickly that you get up. In business specifically, you're going to fail sometimes. I mean, it's going to happen. And there are going to be some things that you think that you're doing properly that you're not. You're going to be humiliated. I have a few times that popped into my head when I first started. I thought I was the hot stuff. So, I've been humiliated. I've been shortchanged. But I kept going. I kept going because I knew that what I was doing was right. I had to change up how I did it at times, and that had to be okay. I had to be willing to be flexible enough to know when something is not working in a particular way and be willing to do something different. But in the end, though, I had to keep going. I had to keep believing, but I had to keep learning too. I had to keep learning, and I had to surround myself with people that knew more than me.
Mhm.
So,
And I
but
think
we
I
could do
think
another 45 minutes on that. So, yeah.
and I think that those are some very, very, very good things. I think a lot of people are finding themselves really having to pull on those things right now, like with all that's going on with the pandemic. I mean, how people approach their business is drastically different, and I think there are a lot of businesses that are taking huge steps back. I mean,
Mhm.
they're doing the right thing to protect the health of themselves and the health of their employees, but they're taking a huge hit right now. And I think that's going to be a very telling thing of, okay, after this is over, what do you do? Do you pick yourself back up and do you continue moving forward? So I think that one is a very good point.
Yeah, I mean, and everybody knows their own individual financial situation better than anybody else. So
Mhm.
I can't tell people what to do on that. I just know if you believe in it bad enough, you're willing to put in that work and you're willing to treat it like a business and not a hobby. Um, you're destined to do what you're looking to do.
Mhm. Awesome, awesome. Well, Chef Cordell, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, and definitely to all those that are listening, definitely check out the videos that he's posting and check out the content that he's sharing and the classes as well, because they're really good stuff out there.